Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Sonali Kohli and I'm an integrative aesthetic dermatologist. I am currently practicing in Mumbai at the Sir H.N. Reliance Foundation Hospital. Since it's a handful of you, I can actually personally see all of you. So hi Komal, Pooja, Minakshi, Amya and Bhavna. Thank you for joining in. And before I get started, I actually had requested Komal that I wanted to properly introduce myself. And what that probably actually means is that I wanted to explain to you that what is it that I do that might be different from a more traditional dermatological approach. So in my practice, I follow something which is like a three-legged approach, which primarily means, I think someone's mic is on. There's a bit of a disturbance. Maybe someone else is.
Please mute yourselves. Apart from Dr. Sonali, everyone, please mute yourself. I'll just mute them from here. One sec.
So as I was saying, I like to follow a three-legged approach, and you can refer it to as the three tiers of a pyramid. So the base of the pyramid, of course, is your internal well-being, which primarily concentrates on the food that you eat and your hormonal health. And the second tier is your mental and emotional well-being, because that directly impacts the way, not only how you feel, but also the way you look and how your skin will behave. And top of the pyramid, or as I like to say, it's top of the iceberg, where we all tend to concentrate, is our skincare. So I'm not saying it's not important. It's a very essential part of the pyramid because it forms the top, the apex. But what is more important to understand that the skincare can't actually solve the root cause of the problem. So if you're suffering from acne, or you have hair loss, or there's pigmentation, or any other skin condition like eczema or atopy, all of them will always have a root cause. So I can treat you temporarily by giving you topical creams, by giving you antibiotics. But if we really want to get rid of the problem, we are going to have to change your lifestyle, which involves balancing you out, bringing an equilibrium with your hormonal health, making sure that your gut microbiome is completely replaced and healthy. And of course, you have to feed your mind with healthy thoughts and positivity, right? So we basically concentrate a lot in bringing about a lifestyle change. And today, I think primarily the concern is going to be PCOS. So PCOD, as I'm sure many of you might be suffering from it and have witnessed firsthand how traumatic it can be. But I just wanted to, explain a little before we get into it that PCOD can actually be of four types. One is the insulin dependent, which is honestly the most common one, which a lot of the young girls, I mean, almost 1 out of every 10 patients that I see has it. So it's that common now. So that's insulin dependent, which means that there is a complete hormonal imbalance which is happening in your body. And the insulin cells in your body there is insulin in your body, but your cells are not responding to it. So you become resistant. So you tend to gain weight around, there's belly fat. The insulin also plays a major role in your sebaceous glands, which is what is responsible for causing acne. And that's why you start getting acne typically around the jaw area. You can have hair loss, you can have hair thinning. Some people even notice a simple thing like, excessive ingrowth. So post vaccine, many patients say that, I don't know why, but I'm developing more marks. I'm getting more of ingrowth. It's because your hair texture and follicle is changing. Unfortunately, a lot of you might have undergone this, or a lot of you might have been proposed this by your doctors that, the treatment for this is to take contraceptive pills. But it's very important to know that there is a PCOD which occurs because of the pill. So that's a pill dependent PCOD. Okay. And when we give our body these synthetic hormones, you are taking away its natural trigger to sort of produce these hormones. So it's very important that, of course, if there is an underlying fibroid or a cyst, that this might be your only way. I'm not saying that you don't take the pill, but I'm just saying don't assume that that's your only way of treatment. And also, one very common thing which happens is a lot of people with polycystic ovarian disease believe that they will have a fertility issue or they can't get pregnant. And in that fear, I think many people adopt to take the pill. But you must understand that polycystic ovarian disease and polycystic ovarian syndrome are two different things. So when you have the disease, your fertility chances are actually not that affected, and you might even have regular cycles. The only problem could be that there is an imbalance, but you are not completely that your ovarian dysfunction that you will not be able to have a proper fertile cycle. However, when you have the polycystic ovarian syndrome, there's a lot more which is an interplay. In those cases, yes, I do think that sometimes giving the pill for up to 3 months is relatively safe, but it's still not my first line of treatment. Having said that, I think that's a basic idea. I just wanted to give you all so that the questions that we answer today could be more broad, and we could cover topics about food, and we could cover topics about healthy supplements to bring you back in balance, rather than concentrating only on the topical serums and creams. So I think, Komal, we can start. I mean, whatever queries you have, I'm more than happy to answer them for you guys.
Okay, great. Guys, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat so I can just moderate the questions. Meanwhile, I'm going to ask some questions that came into my DM from the group. 1 second. So thanks, doctor, for that information. One of the very common question is sugar bad for my skin? What about sweetness? So I think we also discussed this with Pooja earlier, just talking about sweetness.
I think so. What happens with sugar is that the sugar is basically affecting your insulin, okay? And this whole play is with something which is known as your insulin growth factor. Now, this acts on the cells, which is the sebaceous gland, and it causes them to enlarge. So you will not only get more commonly acne, but you will also end up getting more cystic acne because it's affecting the quality of sebum that's being produced in your skin. And secondly, it also has a role in your hair follicles. So again, you can notice more thinning of hair. So definitely refined sugars and sugars in general is something you should avoid. You can go for alternate forms like dates, jaggery, coconut-based sugar. Those are all much more safer. Artificial sweeteners is of course a no, because stevia and all can actually be a little more harmful. And the honest truth is not projected. What I usually tell my patients is that be aware consumers. So look at your label. So everything that you're eating, suppose it says that it contains per serving 10 grams of sugar. Just straight away divide it by 4. So when you divide 10 by 4, it gives you like a 2.5. That's because 4 grams is how much 1 tablespoon will have. So that's how much sugar you're consuming. So literally, if you're having something that contains 10 grams in one serving, you've already taken your 2 teaspoons. So, you can calculate how much sugar you're having through the day. So as long as you stick to having under 6 teaspoons, it's okay. So you don't have to completely cut out the normal sugar, because everyone has sugar cravings, and we tend to, eat crackers or a lot of things which contain refined sugars. But just be aware, make a count of how much you're consuming in total.
Okay, lovely. The next question I have is, how can I get rid of acne scars?
So acne scars, unfortunately, there are no creams which can work, because when you develop an acne, you've basically broken the continuity of your skin. So we need to do procedures which is going to stimulate that collagen to bring back that continuity. So using derma rollers, microneedling, PRP, lasers, these are the best options for acne scars. Creams don't really work. But how you can prevent scars is that, when you develop acne, visit a dermatologist and start the correct treatment at the right time. And don't pop your acne. That's the biggest problem.
Okay, I'll just talk to you about that. Like, I'll just give my examples. I'll just put my video so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So I have like this scarring on my face that came from a cyst when I used to get a lot of cystic acne. Now, when I got it, I didn't touch it. I didn't do anything. I put benzoyl peroxide and something else. I've got adapalene, but I didn't put anything. I didn't touch it, but it's still scarred pretty bad than the ones actually I've touched in the past. So why would that be? And if I wanted to get rid of that, do I have to like go through like laser? Because no creams obviously seem to work, and it gets darker in the sun. That's why I'm quite like rigid with my SPF.
Yeah. No, so the thing is with cystic acne, what you have to understand is that it's not just one gland which gets affected. That is why it forms a cyst. So it's like 2-3 glands which have come under your skin and formed a big bulb. So when you've had that kind of an invasion, you must understand that continuity has been broken not at one level, it's been broken at 3 different levels. And that's how you develop such a deep scar. So the only way to treat it is lasers. In fact, for a scar, the kind of scars you have, we refer to them as box scars because they are more deep. So superficially, the borders are not so much, but it's more deeper. So you can even go in for traditional subcision methods, which you can discuss with your dermatologist. They would work very well for you in combination with laser.
Okay, lovely. We'll just go through the messages on chat. So the first one is dry and frizzy hair, ma'am, what to do?
Yeah, so dry and frizzy hair happens because of the lack of moisture in your hair. So one thing that you can do is make it a habit that you're using a deep conditioner, and post your conditioner, your last rinse could be with something as like fermented rice water, which is very rich in ceramides, which will help your hair. You have to understand that when the hair is a dead protein, so the quality of your hair, which is telling you your nutritional status, is actually happening from the base. So as long as this part is not frizzy or is not, you don't have static hair, you should know that you're not really having a deficiency. If your lower ends are getting static and they're very rough, clearly you're either overstyling, you could be, maybe it could be the damage you've done because of the excessive use of hair products, or your cuticles are weak. So the only way to repair those cuticles is to sort of form a layer of protection, which you can do with heavy base conditioners. You can use a good Moroccan oil serum. You can use rice water. You can use oat milk as your last rinse. Oat milk works brilliantly because it's very, very rich in lipids. And the last two options are more natural and available in your pantry.
Lovely. Amir says, hair thinning is disastrous for me. It's breaking like hell. Neither vitamin E capsules nor oiling is showing results. What do we do? I'm now thinking to go for PRP, else I'm going to go bald.
Yeah, so the thing is that you must understand that hair oiling does not control hair loss. It's a complete myth. Hair oiling can only repair your cuticle and prevent the water loss. So for dry hair, applying oil 1 hour prior to hair wash can work, but leaving hair overnight, oil overnight on your scalp, it's not helping. It will in fact worsen your hair loss. And if you are facing such a hair loss, vitamin E is not your solution. I would rather look into your protein content in your diet. So make sure that every meal has 30% protein. Also, if you're facing fatigue or tiredness, have your iron levels checked, please, because that is sometimes a major cause of such hair breakage. Also, rule out an underlying thyroid. The supplements which you can take, which are safe, would be biotin 10 milligram and a folic acid 5 milligram. And any hair treatment, you will have to be patient and religious for 3 months because that's your hair cycle. Before 3 months, you won't know if any treatment is working. So before you decide to go in for a PRP, I would say stick to a proper oral care regime for at least 3 months and then decide whether you still need an invasive treatment.
Lovely. Meenakshi says, thank you for the information. So I break out mostly before my cycle and I also have dry skin. Hair is also falling so much.
So even if you have like a lot of breakout, pre-cyclic, usually we tend to feel that you might be a little estrogen dominant. So what you can do is that you have to make sure that your body is detoxifying that estrogen correctly. Okay. So you can take evening primrose oil, which is a very healthy supplement to sort of balance you out. Make sure your bowel is regular. So if it's not, then add like some psyllium husk daily, which is like isabgol, which will help you because when you poop, you're actually detoxing your estrogen. So that is actually helpful. So it's very important to have a good bowel cycle. Also, what I would advise is that you can try seed cycling, which is quite popular these days. You can look it up. It's available online. It basically involves consuming two particular types of seeds for 15 days of the month or 14 days of the month if you have a 20, depending on what cycle you have. And once you get your menstruation, till the next 14 days, you consume two other different seeds. So I would suggest that you look into that. That will help to regularize your cycle and control that acne breakout which is happening.
Wait, any natural therapy for unwanted hair?
No, unfortunately, unwanted hair which has come because of the probably the male hormone dominance, which is either your DHT or your DHEA, which you should get tested and take treatment for. And the only way to get rid of the hair which has come is laser, because even if you use any other depilating methods like creams or shaving, the hair will always grow back. So unfortunately, there is no other natural way to get rid of it.
Medha, I'm experiencing dandruff. I've been working out a lot this quarantine. I'm sure if this is due to sweat caused by exercise or is it diet related? Is there a remedy regarding this? This is a very common question that women have in the group, is about sweating and...
Yeah. So the thing is that, when you really excessively sweat and you don't cleanse your scalp, it's blocking your pores. So you are obviously causing an imbalance in your pH of the scalp. So what I would recommend is that even if you don't use shampoo, you must rinse your hair with water post a workout so that the sweat clogging doesn't happen. But however, if you're experiencing dandruff is a fungal infection and it will need you to get treated with an antifungal shampoo. Look for a shampoo that contains ketoconazole. They work very well. And always leave an anti-dandruff shampoo on your scalp for at least 2 to 3 minutes before you rinse. So that contact therapy is more effective. And avoid washing your hair with very hot water. Sometimes just excessively hot water can rip your skin of the moisture, and that leads to more flakiness of the scalp.
Lovely. I have pigmentation majorly on forehead and chin. My face is 2 tones darker than the rest of my body.
Pigmentation could be multifactorial in all honesty. So first and primary, please start using a sunscreen. Even if you're homebound, we're all having enough screen time. We all sit in our room mostly with our windows open, so you have enough sunlight coming in. So an SPF of 30 is required. So when you finish your skincare regime in the morning, make sure you lather on your sunscreen. Except that for an uneven skin tone, there could be an underlying vitamin D deficiency. Or if you're a vegetarian, please make sure you've had your B12 levels checked, because that somehow plays a very, very important role for uneven skin tone. So these two things are important in your diet. Make it like a rainbow diet. So add a lot of berries, which are antioxidants. You can use strawberries, blueberries. You can even add a lot of avla, which is the Indian gooseberry. It's very, very rich in vitamin C, almost 20 times more than a lemon. So it's very good for your skin. And topically, you can look for serums which contain glycolic acid. If you want a home remedy, you can use licorice, which is also known as mulethi. You can make a mask of that. It's a skin lightening agent, so it works to get rid of the pigmentation.
Nisha says, I get one acne on my cheeks a week before periods, and since past 6 months, I have severe hair fall. My hair texture has changed. I had thick hair before, and yes, I'm taking care of my hair fall. It's better from before, but a week before periods, hair fall increases again.
So usually one odd acne before a cycle is not something I would worry about. That is very, very normal, and that's not something you should. That's not alarming in any sense. But the fact that you're having an increased hair loss and you feel that it's happening on certain days of the month, definitely have your iron levels checked, because as your body is preparing, and also when you go through menstruation, you are losing more of your blood, and sometimes we tend to feel weaker. So definitely do an iron study. Please don't measure your hemoglobin to be an indicator of what your iron levels are. Sometimes you need to do a different iron level check, because your stores get depleted later. So even though your hemoglobin will appear later normal, you might still be having a deficiency. So definitely rule out an iron deficiency. And closer to your cycle, I would suggest that maybe take evening primrose oil to sort of balance you out if you're having any particular spikes in your hormones.
Guys, just requesting, once you send in your question, just put it all in one. Don't repeat multiple questions, otherwise we'll be here all night answering them. Sanchita says, my hair has become very brittle. How do I repair them?
So for brittle hair, the importance is to understand why your hair is really breaking, and sometimes that could be happening because of the bonds that form your hair have become weak. So one, start consuming a zinc supplement that really helps to sort of repair. Take a supplement which is rich in amino acids, which will be like a protein source for your hair. And topically, what you can do is you have to apply creams which will help repair the sheath of your hair root. So again, oat milk, rice water are all good. Leaving a conditioner overnight, hair mask, that will work very well for you. So yeah, basically, zinc is the primary factor here when you have hair breakage.
Ayushi says, I've noticed a sudden change in texture of my hair. They suddenly become brittle and facing excessive hair fall. On a gluten-free dairy diet, any supplements that can help?
I think I've already covered pretty much in the earlier answers that these are the hair supplements that you
Yes.
should definitely look into. But the only thing I would like to add is that if you feel that you're taking all the supplements, and if you're not taking the supplement but you're eating a very, very healthy diet and there's no reason for you to supplement, then I would say that maybe you should consider taking at least a probiotic, or start observing your patterns. If you get very gassy after a meal, or if certain after eating something you feel the need to sleep immediately, or you feel a brain fog, because it could be that you're eating healthy but your body is not digesting it. So adding a probiotic with your lunch for at least 15 to 20 days and observing the difference would be very helpful.
Great. Amya says, please, can you share a routine for combination skin type?
So the routine would stay same, honestly, whether you have a combination skin type or an oily or dry or sensitive skin. It is the CTM regime, which is your cleansing, toning, and moisturizing. It needs to be done in the morning and evening, so it's AM and PM. But what is very important is that the routine stays the same, but the difference comes in your product. So if you have a combination skin, luckily for you, you can use either a cream-based face wash or a gel-based face wash. use a micellar water as a cleanser, and that also works as a toner. Find a micellar water which contains cucumber water or rose extract, because these are good toners. Don't use anything that contains alcohol or parabens or perfume, because that could sensitize your skin. And moisturizing is important for everybody. So even if you have oily skin, you need to use a moisturizer. The only difference is that look for a gel based moisturizer, and for dry skin, look for a cream based moisturizer.
Lovely. Best way to get rid of ingrowth marks on my legs. I shave them using a razor. Have stopped waxing since more than a year, as even hard wax was causing ingrowth marks.
Can you repeat that, Komal? I didn't get you. What did you say?
Best way to get rid of ingrowth marks on my legs. I shave them using a razor. Have stopped waxing since more than a year, as even hard wax was causing ingrowth marks.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, sometimes just a basic sign like having excessive ingrowth is also an indicator of a hormonal issue, because it's affecting the thickness of your hair, and the quality of your hair. So definitely, if that's something that's bothering you, constantly have the male hormone checked. But for the marks that you already developed, you'll have to use some skin lightening cream, which probably contain glycolic acid. I'm not going to be recommending any particular brand, but look for a glycolic acid based cream or an azelaic acid based lotion. These usually help, and there are always lasers and chemical peels which you can explore.
Any tips for hair care for people who go for swimming regularly?
So yeah, I think a good thing would be that if you apply maybe oil before you go for a swim, because what that oil will do is it will prevent the penetration of the chlorine and the excessive loss of moisture from your hair. So if you're going for swimming on a regular basis, applying oil and then wearing a shower cap, and immediately post shower you wash your hair would be an advisable thing to do.
Lovely. Skincare 40s AM PM regime. Please suggest retinol based lotions available over the counter.
So as I said earlier, the routine stays the same for everybody. The only difference that comes is in your skin type, whether you have an oily or a combination. So that changes your base of your face wash and your cream. And for anti-aging, the serums I recommend, again, I don't personally recommend brands on any forum. For that, you should take a personalized consultation, for the simple reason being that it's not one size fits all. Every skin needs a particular concentration of a particular ingredient. So it wouldn't be fair for me to do that. But what you can do is on your label, look for hyaluronic acid. You can look for resveratrol. You can look for retinol, retinoic acid, and there are plenty of them in the market. They are all very, very good. These are active ingredients which work very well on your skin. But please be wary, because retinol can cause a lot of sensitivity. So if you've not tried or tested it, do a patch test before you start using these products.
Lovely. Very recently, I've started getting a dark patch near my chin, even though I have facial hair growth since my childhood. Is there a remedy for this? I have recently started getting my periods regularly without any medication. Have taken contraceptives for 6 months, 3 years back. I'm 21 years old. PCOD type is insulin resistance as well, and I have a few cysts.
So it's great. Firstly, congratulations to you that you went off the pill at the right time. Lifestyle modification does help your cycles come back to regular. But if you've noticed that you're developing pigmentation, especially around the mouth, that could be very specific when there is a vitamin D or B12 deficiency. So make sure that you get that ruled out by doing a simple blood test. And in case you are deficient, you need to take the right supplementation. And now that we're on this topic, I would just quickly like to explain to you something very basic. When we do a blood test, even when you do a blood test like a vitamin D, the range is anywhere between 20 to 50, right? So even if you're a 21, it's never going to highlight on your report. It's going to just show you 21, and you're going to think I'm within range and I'm normal. But you need to understand the range is given for you to be at a value which is in the middle, so that you have optimum health. So for anybody who has a vitamin D less than 50, it's my genuine suggestion that please supplement, because that vitamin D level is not enough for your optimum health. And this holds true for everything. So even in a vitamin B12, your range is anywhere from starting from 200 and going up to 800. But to really have good skin, good hair, a good health, internal health, you should have a vitamin B12 level of sitting anywhere between 500 to 550. I'm talking about all Indian standard units of measurement. But that's the whole purpose. That don't just rule out that, oh, I'm in range, so I don't see any reason why I could have a deficiency.
I have extremely oily scalp. Can you recommend a sulfate-free shampoo?
I'm
I
sorry,
wish I
can
could.
I
I
cut you
don't.
for a second, Komal? I just have a doubt. So you just said that I can and I should check for vitamin B12 and vitamin D deficiency. Like if you can see, even now there is a patch here on my chin which is darker than the rest of my face, right? And it's happened very recently. I've never actually had any problems. Well, I have had a lot of period related problems, but nothing, no acne, no breakout, nothing facial, nothing skin related as such. And this has happened recently. So is there any
So,
way that I can, like, even if I take supplements of vitamin B12 and D, will the patch go away, or do I have
so
to do something?
Bhuvnesh, yeah. So this is exactly what I was saying. I'm glad actually I could see you visually. That's why you have to consult a dermatologist. The way you described the patch was just pigmentation around, but what you have specifically is pigmentation on a patch, which could be completely because of your hair growth and a shadowing of it. And over time, whatever hair removal procedures you've done. So for a patch like this, what you actually need to do is undergo laser for this treatment. And this is not indicative of a deficiency. And I hope all of you understand out there that that is why it's important to sometimes actually show your skin to a specialist and not just follow DIY hacks which are explained, because this is not pigmentation. When we talk about pigmentation around the mouth, I'm talking about this whole area getting a generalized darkness. A spot like this is very typical of internal hair growth, which is causing a shadowing.
Thank you, thank you.
We'll just go back to the question. I have extremely oily scalp. Can you recommend a sulfate-free shampoo?
I can't hear you, Komal.
Uh,
I can hear you now.
did you hear that question? Should I repeat it?
I didn't hear anything. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Tell me.
So one question is, I have extremely oily scalp. Can you recommend a sulfate-free shampoo?
Yeah, as I said earlier, I can't unfortunately recommend shampoos, but what you can look for something that says it's a sebum regulating shampoo, because like your skin, your scalp also has sebaceous glands which produce sebum, and that's what affects the quality of your skin and of your scalp. So look for anything that says sebum regulating. That should be helpful.
Lovely. So the last two questions we have, one is Supreet. I just get acne on my forehead, above the nose, between my brows, nowhere else, and they're not always there. They appear after a few days.
See, if you have acne in this pattern, I would say that observe if it's coming related to diet. So start observing whether you develop acne post dairy, if your dairy consumption is high, or if your refined sugar consumption is high. Also, if there's a lot of redness which is associated with your acne, I would recommend that you go visit a dermatologist. You could have underlying rosacea, which worsens when you have coffee or spicy food. So become more observant, maintain a food diary, sort of try and figure out what is your trigger.
Okay. Varsha, I can't do shampoo for some reason. Is there any alternative to keep hair clean and scalp clean?
Mm. You will have to figure out some alternative things which work like a surfactant, because what the shampoo does is basically it has something which is like a detergent action, which is cleansing your scalp. And if that's not something you can use, you will have to figure out some natural remedies. Unfortunately, that's not my area of expertise, so I'm not going to be able to comment on it. But maybe something Ayurvedic you can look up.
Um, yeah, so that's Supreet Kaur. I think we've answered your question, but she's asking if vitamin D deficiency causes weight gain. I think that does actually. It happened to
It
me as
does.
well.
It does. It does. So what you have to understand is that even vitamin D is a hormone, right? So any kind of imbalance in the body is going to cause a weight issue. Now, whether you gain weight, whether you lose weight, or you just develop resistant weight, it's all interconnected. So it's one big vicious cycle. So you can't just treat one and ignore the others. You have to sort of bring an equilibrium to all of them together.
Okay. I think that's all the questions from them. I just have a question in regards to dairy. We hear a lot. I've heard, different gynecologists say, some say, dairy is fine. Some say dairy is not good for PCOD. Some say dairy will break your skin out. And then there's this general thing where general well-being, you hear that stop dairy and your skin will get better. So how true do you feel it is from your point of view?
So honestly, I whatever I say is very research oriented. So again, dairy has something which is stimulating your insulin growth factor, which is everything that I explained earlier. which can cause insulin dependent PCOD. It can affect your skin, it can affect your hair. And in all honesty, you have to understand one thing, when a cow milks, it's doing it in a pregnant state, right? Or post pregnancy. So obviously the hormones, how it is in a female or how it would be for any other mammal at that time, are very high. And to meet the population requirement, the cow can't be milking at all times or milking that amount, because it's actually milking the milk just for its calf. So that's the amount of synthetic hormone which is going in along with the natural hormone which we are all choosing to consume. So I don't think it really needs much of an explanation, because it's out there for all of you to just think about it naturally and figure out that why is it that we don't want to give mother's milk throughout, or why can't a mother keep producing milk? There's a reason why we all stop lactating after a certain time, because your hormones go back. So if you're inducing a cow to do that, that's how much hormone you're feeding to it, and that's how much you're drinking when you're consuming that milk.
So, if you're sourcing your milk from maybe, let's say you have your own cow, for example, because, in the past, you never really heard about PCOD or even skin related problems. They used to consume even way more milk than we actually do now. But obviously now that the demand has grown, the population has grown, they're using artificial methods to produce that milk. But what if you get milk that is like properly sourced? Do you think that is still safe to consume, or would you still say no?
No, so the thing is that when it comes to grass-fed cows, as I think that's what you're talking about, having grass-fed cows and, making sure that they're not being hormonally, you're not encouraging it. I would say that that kind of milk is okay for a child who's growing, okay, because it's high in calcium and there's no denying that, okay. It's high in certain immunoglobulins. It's there, that it has its benefits. But does an adult really need that? I don't think so. I don't think an adult really needs that kind of nutrition. But for a growing child, if you can source that kind of milk, I would definitely say go ahead, because a child hasn't sort of started responding to his hormones. That's only going to happen after puberty. But in adults, it might give you those benefits which your body actually doesn't really need. But what it's also providing you is with this IGF-1, and that IGF-1 is going to cause a lot of damage, especially when it comes to your skin and hair.
Is this the same with the yogurt and ghee as well? Because ghee is also sourced from dairy.
No, so what happens is that the main this IGF and casein which is found, that's lost in the process when you're preparing ghee, because when you're boiling it, you are coagulating the protein, so you lose all that coagulated protein. So that is why they say that ghee is a safer form, and when they've tested ghee, it does not contain any IGF-1 or casein, and that's how it becomes safe even for people who are lactose intolerant actually sometimes.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Sonali. I think this is very informative, and I will be posting this video on the group so that everyone else can see. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
Sure. Thank you everybody for joining in, and thank you Pooja and Komal for having me here. Hope it's helpful for all you guys, and if there's anything, all of you can always reach out to me. I put up a lot of informative videos on Instagram. My handle is @Dr. Sonali Kohli. Feel free to follow me and reach out. Thank you.